Evening, everyone. 7 p.m., and I call the May 13th, 2024 School Board meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Board Clerk Maggie Smith, would you please call the roll?
Khadijah Islam.
Here.
Chris Lau.
Here.
Lindsay Need.
Here.
Maggie Smith here. Bridget Todd Robbins.
Here.
Barb Wench.
Here.
Kevin Zilke.
Here.
Jennifer Deek.
Here. With 7 of the 7 board members present, I declare a quorum. I note that the agenda has been posted, distributed, and sent to the local media. With this in mind, are there any changes to this agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
So moved.
Chris has moved.
Second.
Maggie, a second to approve the agenda as published. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion to approve the published agenda has passed. All right, moving on to recognition and thank yous. Dr. Mueller.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to welcome. We have each year we get some foreign exchange students, and we have some international students and their host families with us this evening. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank the host families for hosting the students that they have with them this evening. And we're excited to learn a little bit more about your experience here in Holmen. So I know we have 2 of you here this evening. If you wouldn't mind coming up, and we'll help you out here. And with your whoever in your host family would like to come up with you. If you want to come up too, Mario and Becky. No, she doesn't. And we have a microphone right over here. And if you could just introduce yourself and then share with us who you have with you and just a little bit about your experience here at Holmen and what country you're from.
So I'm Susie Ontignant, so I'm from France. I've been here for the semester since January, and I have Heather and Leo, my host family, right here. So I have a really great experience with this school. It's really a great school. I love it. It's really different from France, and you have good teachers and good people who are here to help me. So yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Well, hi, I'm Mauro. I'm from Spain, and I was super lucky to get the Clark family for my host family this year. And I love about this school how passionate the staff are about teaching and how much choice we have for the future, the amount of classes that we have. I don't know, it's been a really good year
Okay. Well, we have.
about that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You'll get a certificate from the high school and that, but we also have a certificate of commendation for you this evening and a little card. So we just want to come say thank you. Get a picture with you. Oh, you can come on over. Everybody. Thank you. Oh, come on up, Clark family. We'll take one with us. We'll just take one with the Clark family and Merle.
All right. Oh, so cute. 1, 2, 3.
I probably didn't even introduce myself. I'm sorry. Dr. Holly Mayberry. Nice to meet you. That's our board president, Jeremy. Nice to meet you. Okay, and then what we'll do is if you just step to the side a little bit for a second, and then we'll get a picture of you. There we go. Awesome. Thank you. And then one, and then you can come over.
Thank you guys.
I know.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Moving on to reports and discussion. Item 8.1, I welcome the Holmen High School Student Council to the presenters table to present their annual update.
Hello, my name is Quinn Moldenhauer. I'm this year's president.
And I'm Abby Holte. I'm this year's sophomore representative.
Right. Right. So this year we had a new project that Abby kind of ran, and we wanted to give back to our staff at the high school, and we had a monthly drawing for parking spots. There was parking spots all around the building, so they could park wherever they prefer to park. And each month, 4 staff members were selected, and this year we had 26 total members awarded.
This year, we also continued with our Standout Student Award, which was started last year by Student Council. We awarded 254 students this year, and they were recognized for the following attributes that we identified and that we asked students to help identify, which include empowerment, empathy, integrity, gratitude, and excellence. Each student was entered into a monthly drawing, and then at that monthly drawing, if they were selected, they were given an extra prize to help continue incentivize good behaviors and educational excellence through good grades and good deeds, which we have encouraged our staff to help recognize to continue building a good school culture in Holmen High School.
We did our blood drives this year. This year we did a summer, fall, and winter, which is different because normally we just do 2. At each of our blood drives this year, our summer one we collected about 40 units, and then both of our fall and winter ones we collected over 60 for both. Students at the high school really enjoy our blood drives, and we really hope to keep doing this. And with this, we are really getting up there for the scholarships. So every year when we do this, we get awarded scholarships from the Red Cross. So towards the end of this year, we'll be able to give 2 $500 scholarships to seniors at Holmen High School.
This year, we had the privilege of being able to go to a leadership conference in Eau Claire at Chippewa Technical College. There, students were able to break out into small groups. We did some collaboration with other schools. Each year, a high school from Wisconsin hosts. This year is Menominee High School. So they shared what they did for homecoming, some ideas, and there were some general workshops that the students got to go and experience so we could bring more openness to our student council for new ideas next year.
Of course, homecoming is a big thing that Student Council does in the fall. This year's theme was Light Up the Night. We did a homecoming parade. There was about 50 floats. I think it was a little more than that. And then we also run dress-up days during that week. And then we also did our annual movie night. This year we played Barbie, which was a huge hit. Over 200 students attended. And thank you to administration and Officer Hickey, because it is a huge event that we put on every year, and it takes a lot of time and effort for us to be able to be organized and put on this event.
And then, like we have done the past few years, we had students go down to the Salvation Army in La Crosse and serve meals throughout February and a little bit of March, I believe. This just helps our students get out more in the community more and get out of the high school, try to give them more opportunities to serve the community rather than just students. And it really broadens horizons and makes them more aware of what's going on in the community around them.
We did Teacher Appreciation Week, which was just this last week. We did a lot of stuff for the teachers. So we completed cards of appreciation to the staff around the district. This was completed a couple weeks ago during advisory. So students were able to write one to either someone in the building or someone that was outside of the building. And Student Council took care of delivering those for them during Teacher Appreciation Week. Then on Friday, there was Sloppy Joes made by student councils offered to all teachers during lunch. And then on Thursday morning, there was coffee and cinnamon rolls before their PLC meetings.
And then here's some pictures that we took while making those at our luncheon. And then finally, we have our scholarships. Student Council will be awarding scholarships on May 22nd. This is a Wednesday. At the Senior Award Night, there will be 3 members receiving scholarships for Student Council. Each one will be $250. Then we have our 2 Red Cross ones that we mentioned, and we have 2 standout student ones. So our seniors are put into a drawing, and 2 of them will be selected for $200 each.
And that's all. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions?
I don't have a question. I just think that you all deserve to be very proud of everything that you've accomplished this year. I know we've gotten different updates from you in the past over the course of the year, but it's always so impressive to see like what student leadership looks like, and the way that you all represent the student body is really awesome. So I think you should all be very, very proud of yourselves.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 8.2. Board Member Barb Wench and Director of Student Services and Safety Jennifer Gimmer will now present the DEI Long Range Plan. This item is for report only.
Okay, so the DEI committee over the course of the year began to build goals for the district, and the committee is now beginning to align the objectives with the strategic plan. Moving forward, there will be internal subgroups that will include staff, administration, students, community members, and educators. And they will help us develop strategic steps in order to reach in each individual goal. The first task was to create the commitment statement, and I believe this was presented to the board previously. And so now we are beginning to align our goals to the strategic plan, and some will have multiple objectives and some have multiple goals. So Jennifer will discuss a little bit more in detail what these plans look like.
So just briefly going over each district focus area, I'm going to do some kind of broad strokes on each area. So the first is our student learning. This really is looking at creating a culturally responsive classroom. Our goal for this will be looking at making sure that our curriculum is inclusive, but also culturally relevant curriculum that validates every student within our school district. The next focus area is fiscal. This is really financial support for our DEI efforts. Our goal is really encompassing is how are we allocating and reviewing our budget allocations to ensure that we can do this work and continue to do this work. In the area of workforce, we're really looking at 2 parts: professional development for all DEI efforts and also hiring, mentoring, and retention. Our goals are encompassing of how are we providing professional development to all staff within the district, and how are we hiring, mentoring, and keep retention of our diverse workforce. In the area of community engagement, this is really looking at student and family engagement, as well as increasing our communications around our DEI efforts within the district. Our goals in this area are looking at developing and continuing the partnerships with our students and families to make sure that their voices and contributions are being heard and held. And also, we're looking at building a better foundation for understanding of DEI. And this is within the school and in the community as well. Last but not least, the last district focus area is health and safety. Here we're really looking at developing an equitable and inclusive anti-racist school culture within the School District of Holmen. There's 2 goals that really are going to be focused on right now, and that is developing an anti-racist school culture and strengthening our hate and bias and identity-based harm response and healing efforts within the district.
I think we had discussed, this looks very overwhelming, but as we were creating this, what we found is the district has already started doing some of these things. And so over the course of the next year, it's going to be some exploration on what things need improvement and what things are we doing well, and so on and so forth. So.
Okay. Good. Any questions?
You mentioned there's going to be like small work groups or with community members and various others. How will the word kind of get out about that, or how can people be looking for that?
Yeah, I think we're still developing that process. That will have to be, strategic and also ensuring that we have a well-represented group, similar to what we did for our DEI board committee subgroup, our board committee group. Making sure that we have a well-rounded, diverse group will be important. So still developing that to be determined.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 8.3. I welcome Director of Nutrition Services, Mike Gasper, to present the school board resolution in support of healthy school meals for all in Wisconsin. This item will appear on the May 28th consent agenda.
Good evening. As you probably know, I've been a very active advocate for healthy school meals for all Wisconsin. Been very involved in the coalition from the beginning, which is probably about 3 years ago now. And this all came on the heels of COVID, when we were able to feed all of our students, every one of them, a free meal for breakfast and lunch, and the impact it had. I'm curious, I want to ask you all a question. Before you come to these meetings at night, do you sit down, do you eat a good supper before you get here? How many of you are actually here without eating? None of you. So you don't really know how hard it can be to sit and concentrate when you have academic things happening around you. We have students in our district that are faced with that every day, that they're not able to get a good meal, and it impacts their behavior, it impacts their test scores, their ability to retain knowledge. There's just so much that happens physiologically when you don't eat. So Healthy School Meals for All Wisconsin basically is a coalition that's advocating to create a state-run program. As we know, the federal program ceased to exist once COVID did. 8 other states in the nation have done this. California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, New Mexico, and Vermont have all passed this. A couple other states have this like on the docket and ready to go. And basically what it amounts to is the state would cover the difference between a free meal reimbursement and a paid meal reimbursement. So to make it simple, if a free meal the school got $2 for, and a paid meal you got 50 cents for, the state would make up that $1.50 difference on that paid meal. And that's essentially how you get to free meals for all, if that makes sense. What I'm here asking for tonight is a resolution from the school board giving support to this coalition, showing how important it is. Our district is rather fortunate in that we have a very low percentage of free and reduced meals. However, there are children in our district that parents, for whatever reason, won't pay for their kids to eat, and they either have to pay for themselves or they go hungry. And this really is about all districts, all students in the state of Wisconsin. It's an opportunity for Holmen to continue to be leaders in the school community and support these children. So this is informational tonight. You've all had this in your board packet, so hopefully you've been able to read it. Next meeting, it will be on the consent agenda, and I ask that you strongly consider supporting this. Any questions?
So kids that you see, there's a lot of kids that aren't
Could you
eating.
speak up a little bit?
So I'm just trying to process. So are these kids not even bringing a lunch from home?
That happens, indeed. In fact, I know of one student who has to pay for his meals cash because his parents have shut down his lunch account. He pays cash. And when he's negative, we have to talk to him, and he brings more money in. And I mean, to me, a student shouldn't have to worry about eating. A student should have to worry about reading their assignments, taking their test, and learning what they're supposed to learn, not worrying about where am I going to get the money so I can eat lunch so I'm not hungry all day. We supply our students with books, computers, desks, balls in gym class. why are we not giving them the one thing that they can't learn without on a daily basis? We need to step up. Thank you for that. Any other questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to commend you for bringing this to us. I think, I know the work I do, food insecurities are becoming more and more significant for so many of our families, and I love your passion that you bring to, to the table around this issue. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Maggie Smith for also bringing this forward. She was working with Mike on this, so.
Thank you, Maggie.
I'm going to set up a question for you here.
Say that.
What plans do you have to use this as an example and encourage our neighboring districts, some of whom have significantly increased free and reduced lunch rates, to sign on and have more of a county region?
Right now, there's only 2 other districts that have passed a resolution. I believe it's Madison Metropolitan and Sun Prairie, both in that same area. So this is a chance for us to join those 2 school boards in a resolution to show our support. I have different groups that I belong to that I'll be able to now say, this is what we've done. When are you going to do it? Because this is important to all of us. Again, it's really about all of our futures. It's about the state of Wisconsin and getting these kids on the right track. So I think really advertising that fact, showing that, look, Holmen is a leader in this, and join us.
Happy to help, too.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Any other questions?
Are there any other options in the meantime, like ways for people to donate to
once again,
support
this is for
someone
a future
else?
meeting, but once again, we are going to our reduced kids that qualify for reduced for the last 2 years. We have picked up that tab out of our fund balance. We plan on doing that again this coming year, but you'll hear about that more when we give you the price meeting. But so we do things of that nature. We have an angel fund that the community can donate to, and kids like that young man I mentioned earlier, we will put money in his account from the angel fund to help them be able to eat.
How do people know about the Angel Fund?
Basically, they can just call our office, and we can give them information. Every year when seniors graduate, there's a lot of them that'll have $50 left in their account or whatever. We do let them know that they can either get a rebate check or they can contribute to the Angel Fund. We have a couple of churches that donate every year, so there's a lot of activity to it. So
That's good. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yep. All right, moving on to item 8.4. Next, Executive Director of Instructional Services Kim Edwards, along with Activities Directors Jason Luloff and Ben Taschner, will present updated summer school offerings. This item will appear on the May 28th consent agenda.
Good evening. Well, we are excited to be here to seek your approval for a late addition to our summer school program. Thanks to the exceptionally hard work of Mr. Luloff here, we've coordinated a strength and conditioning class with the support of Three Rivers Performance. This would run June 10th through the 25th at the high school, Monday through Thursday, and we have really quite an array of sections to offer lots of flexibility to families. So this is something that we'd be seeking your approval on, and it is free of charge for students, which is also quite a value. We did bring Mr. Luloff here in case you have any questions, because it is a pretty big change to any of the offerings that we've had in the past. Any questions on this?
Any questions?
I just had a question around kind of the equity piece. And so, I mean, spots are limited. It's not that every single student is going to be able to take advantage of this. So how do we ensure that those who don't have access to typical programs like this get access? Because I think it just came out in an email and it said you can sign up, and I know it's signed up pretty quickly, right? Thought I saw something.
There's still some spots open.
Okay.
So for high school, which is the main offering that anyone would have. So if you're talking like training, the 3rd through 8 is much of a bonus.
Okay.
90% of schools don't offer anything of that nature. So there are still spots open for the high schoolers, several. The 3 through 8 filled fast. But yeah, I would say like that's very much so. That's a lot of offering that isn't offered most places, and the restrictions are facilities. There's not a way to run more people through than that. So we're going to be offering this to 500 students. The opposite of what most places would have open lifting that's not structured, that is 1 hour each day of summer. This is extensive and available.
Sure. Which I love that. I was just, still curious about the intentionality around ensuring that kids wouldn't be able to get access to this.
So, I mean, normally a high school takes care of the high school population and there's 80 more spots available. It's not full. So I would say that there's still availability for those who want it.
Could you be more specific? I'm just curious, like kids that don't have internet access at home and maybe aren't getting the email when everyone else is that kind of?
Yeah, I think ensuring that the information got out to those who might not have access. I'm thinking about the barriers around it.
So
I'm just thinking about our DEI plan, that it really fits, and as we add different programs and services, that we're just being thoughtful about that.
So this is a summer school class. So all other classes that are offered have caps due to making sure it's staffed appropriately. And the 3rd through 8 is popular. Sometimes I wonder why it's popular. I think sometimes people look at it as a break to get the kids active, get some energy out. And other times it's like something the kid is really interested in. So you gotta remember, like typically the high school kids are signing themselves up. The 3rd through 8th is a nanny, a mom or dad or somebody who's
Which could create more of those barriers.
Yeah.
Is what you're talking about.
and ultimately if you're thinking about like the ability to run something that would be available to every single student we don't have a facility that can handle that.
No, I totally understand that piece of it.
Yeah.
We also, they worked with Travis to make sure like we had it out there on other social media platforms that all families have access to that, because a lot of them have a phone versus maybe the internet or through other avenues and so on. And I bet you're going to speak to go ahead.
One of the other things that we've done, and I know that the high school does this too, is this has been on our announcements for probably, I'm going to say 3.5 to 4 weeks. We've had our teachers talking about it. It's displayed in our cafeteria that it says, hey, if you are interested in this, please reach out to the office, come on in. So it's not just the email that gets sent home, just because we know of, the equity and access that everyone has. And so trying to also get that information out that way, something that we've tried to do, just to make sure that everybody at least has an opportunity to hear about it and know about that information.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I just know, again, just the lens that I sometimes bring to this work is having that adult who will sign your kid up, like if you don't have that advocate, that mentor for some of our most marginalized families. And this is such an amazing opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already scheming ways to potentially make it bigger and better, but I also want to make sure what I bite off is super high quality. So those thought processes are already, how can we, it's a daunting task. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and appreciate all the work that you do around this.
I was just going to say it's also a significant improvement because in the past this has always been charged.
Yes.
And so that was a huge barrier, I think, for many families. And so putting this within the summer school program, being able to collect some aid to cover the costs and open it up, as you see, a lot of sections and opportunities is a significant improvement over the past years in those limitations. So.
And the other piece of this too is like, in order to schedule summer school, there's already things booked all summer in our facilities. So this is like the availability of the leftover, being that it was a little bit late. So with a year's planning, we might be able to do a little bit better job on trying to like secure things now for next year versus
No,
where
I
we are
love
this
the
year.
progress. I absolutely appreciate that. So thanks.
Well, and our program, or our request for support will come much, much earlier next year too. So we'll have a lot longer to promote it as well and do the announcements in the school as well as the email and, maybe look at other ways too to see, make sure that we're reaching everybody.
I'll just share, I've heard a tremendous amount of excitement about it. I'm jealous. I'd like to come. So let us know when there's a board slot. And
We could use some chaperone. We could potentially use you.
hey, my middle schooler he would hate it. He would hate it so much. But I do, to your comment, Bridget, I feel that not just about this, but like about a lot of things. I think, there's that, like, that almost like Black Friday sign up for summer school for elementary kids too. And I don't have a solution. I don't know like what would improve that, but I do think there's something to be said for like the parents who are on it when the email comes out and gets their kid enrolled. And then are they getting opportunities that, parents who are tied up in work or just dealing with a lot are missing out on. So maybe we can talk more
And
about
don't
that.
mistake my questions for like, this is amazing, right? Like we have incredible things that we do in the school district, but I would just be remiss if I didn't keep talking about those things.
Absolutely.
The popularity is there. There was the form opened, and I was trying to make one tweak on the form. Oh my goodness!
Shut down the whole thing.
It was piling in while I was like,
I am also very excited that this is offered free to our students. I am curious about the funding source. It just says state aid and local revenue, and to the extent that you're able, could we hear like what that? It sounds like some of it is because it's a summer school program. This might be a Julie
You go
question.
ahead. It
I'm
is
kind of looking at
complex.
Julie, kind of
Julie
looking
is
at you
much
guys.
better versed on
Who
this.
has the answer?
So because we're running it through summer school, we can record the membership as membership minutes for summer school. Kim does report the membership of all summer school, collects all the data at the end of summer school, and submits that to the state. Unfortunately, summer school minutes, it takes a lot of them. It takes 48,000 minutes to get one FTE for aid. And for revenue limit, we only get 40% of that FTE, but it all gets rolled into that annual revenue calculation for membership total. So we did a lot of work before they brought this and opened up the registration to make sure that we could cover the costs of the Three River Performance contract and then the licensed teachers on record that are required for summer school instruction, and worked through all of that. And obviously the registration participation is phenomenal, and it will not only cover the cost, but it'll help a little bit in other summer school or regular school aid support because of the ability to provide this through summer school and count those minutes. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
and so to give you a little history on the backtrack of it, last year we were not partnered with Three Rivers Performance during the summer. They actually I was testing the waters with them to see what they were, and we went into a partnership with them now. So we're working alongside of them, trying to offer a higher quality training to our students and to our athletes, and they've been really good to work with, and we're just continuing to figure out ways, just brainstorming ways to get more opportunities, and this is one of the ideas.
Awesome. Thank you.
Doesn't this overlap with the traditional summer school schedule?
yes, by design. Like they could sign up for this and sign up for something else as well. Or in the middle school, they could do something in the morning and then they could do a session at the high school, but they can also choose a session as part of their middle school, I'll call it block, but
Yeah,
of
there is a
choices.
section that's just the middle school on the middle school campus. That's part of their middle school summer school schedule too.
But I thought when I looked at it that all the 3 through 8, anybody that's in summer school wouldn't be able to sign up for a course because all the courses are during summer school times because they're already scheduled for summer school.
They were able to sign up and do both. That was in my
So there were
frequently asked-
two.
answered questions.
So there was one section that's offered at Holmen Middle School that's part of the summer school offerings, and then they also have this, which is offered just at the high school. So you had an option for either. super confusing, I know. Okay, anything else?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 8.5. Kim Edwards will continue with the ESSA Accountability Report. This item is for report only.
Okay, this one's a little less exciting than the weight room, but pretty important anyway. So this is our Every Student Succeeds Act report. This is an annual report that we do that's part of our federal accountability measure. So it's really the most current version of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which initially went into effect in 1965. Its whole focus is around educational equity. And so ESSA requires that each state submit a plan in terms of how they're going to address that. And they're required to create goals around ELA and math proficiency, as well as progress towards English language proficiency for our ML students. Wisconsin's goal has been to cut our achievement gaps in half, both for ELA and math proficiency and for our grad rates, and then increase our English language performance by 18 points as a state. So to do this, the way Wisconsin has shaped their plan is we have an identification system which targets either the lowest performing schools in the state or the lowest performing subgroups in the state. So as I mentioned, it's just another layer of our accountability. So in the fall, I come with our state report card. This is going to sound kind of familiar because they use a lot of the same measures. The only real difference in it is when we use on track to graduation, they count it as graduation rate and absenteeism, but they also add the progress in attaining English language proficiency. So they're watching how our students are growing from year to year on our access test. The way they do this is they calculate both your student groups, or each of your student groups, and as a whole for each of our buildings. It's a building level identification. So there's 3 different identifications that you can get that we don't want. In ESSA, the whole goal is not to be noticed. So the lowest level is the targeted support for improvement, and this means you would have a subgroup that's performing among the lowest in the state. The next is the comprehensive support and improvement. This means that you're among the lowest performing schools. And then the real tough one is the ATSI, or additional targeted support and assistance. It means you already have a targeted subgroup who is not performing, but you also are in the bottom 5% overall among all Title I schools in the state. So there's a lot of planning and support. DPI gets very involved when you have any of these identifications. Good news is we are overall high performing. So once again, we do not have any identifications. In fact, we weren't even, we weren't worried. We didn't even get a threshold warning, meaning we were even in the ballpark of being concerned with these, which really isn't a huge surprise, knowing how we look at that data every fall anyway, and it's the same data that we use, both for the state, for the most part, and this one as well. We do have all the individual reports. So as I said, it's based on the lowest performing in the state. It's not like we get a ranking of where we fall, but you can look up the ESSA accountability reports and you would see one for all of the buildings in the state. So you'd see summary scores and percentiles, both for all students and then for each student group. Because it uses so many of the same measures as our state report card, we have the same celebrations and the same areas of growth to continue to work on. 2 of our biggest would be to continue to work on that achievement, the proficiency, as well as the growth for our multi-language learners and our students with disabilities. But overall, a really, really good report. Any questions on that?
No questions. Thank you.
All right.
All right, moving on to item 8.6. Director of Facility Services Chad Brando will present the 2024 to 2029 refuse bids for approval on the May 28th consent agenda.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chad Brando, Director of Facility Services. I do have the bids for the refuse contract 24 to 29. This is the 5-year contract. The bids were published on the 13th of April. They closed on the 25th of April, and the sealed bids were opened on the 25th of April. We had 2 bids. Harder's Quick Clean Service, who we currently have now, and Hilltopper Refuse and Recycling Services. You can see you got everything there? Yep. So for reference for this, I just wanted to share a little bit that this is a reference, as you can see, that we do this in a 9-month and a 3-month period. We have summer and then we have holidays. So we put the bid out for a school in session bid per month and a summer break, if you will, price per month, because they don't pick up on the same schedule. For another reference, what we have here is we have 19 large 2 to 6 yard dumpsters where they come with a truck, they pick them up in the front. When we have 13 bins for recyclables. I vetted Hilltop Refuse and Recycling Service and recommend they be approved as the low bidder. Any questions on this?
No questions, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to item 8.7, Chad Brando will continue with the middle school bleacher bids. This item will appear on tonight's consent agenda.
So our project total, or I should say our budget total for this specific project at the middle school was $160,000. The low bidder was North Star. They came in at $174,760. Puts us over budget by $14,760. North Star has been vetted by Nexus and recommended to be approved as the low bidder. This is for Gym A, if you're familiar with the middle school.
It's the same, is North Star the same group as in high school?
I don't think so. I can't remember who we have doing the high school, because
Bleachers.
for the bleachers.
No, H and
H&B?
H&B.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you. And moving on to item 8.8, Chad Brando will now present the long-range capital improvement plan. This item will appear on the May 28th consent agenda.
This will take a little bit longer, folks, I'm sorry. So,
That's okay.
do I have the spreadsheet attached to this? Stacy, or?
Older to see.
Oh. Do you have this? I don't know if it.
You want to display it?
I thought I would display that, yes, please. Okay, there we go, perfect. Okay, so I got a little background myself on this, so I'm gonna share a little background with you also. So, just to start off, my predecessor, Mr. John Daly, would keep a long-range capital project list. And John passed that off to me when he retired. This plan is driven by the School District of Holmen establishing a Fund 46 Long-Term Capital Improvement Trust in the 2019 and the 2020 school year. This was authorized by Section 120.137 of the Wisconsin statutes. When they did that, the Finance Committee also said that issue paper at that time. That was, I think it was June 2021 school board meeting, that with that being done, that we were going to have I got to get used to this new term, a 10-plus year long-term capital plan projects, or plan. So what I got from John Daly was kept off to the side. They had the facility assessments for the referendum that went through in 2022. And when that took place, I kept everything on the list. And we're far enough along now with the referendum that I thought it was a good time to scratch those items off that list. And now what you're seeing here in front of you tonight is the list based on the items for the referendum that we know of. They've been taken off. And a reference for that is, before I did that, there was 330 separate line items when I got the list from John Daly. Now we're down to 102 line items. So it still has a pretty good sum on the total when you get to the last page, that doesn't make you feel maybe happy, but I think that 102 from 330, we're very fortunate that we had the 2022 referendum. It was much needed. Some of the other funding source besides Fund 46 for this, of course, would be the general fund, Fund 10, which includes my operational budget and sinking funds that are already established. We have referendums, we have donations. So this can be funded by various sources. I think you all know by now, I think I might have mentioned it once or twice since I took over for John. My operating budget for my 3 years here now, I don't have any money left over from paying the bills to do projects. So I haven't been able to chip away at this myself as far as my operational budget. So I would open up for any questions. Hopefully I explained this list to you. I can say this, that this list is on my, this is on my desktop, and it's something that grows. And it's something that I shouldn't say it grows, it's like a living document. I get this information from seeing the stuff myself. I have building principals that will bring stuff up. We have a huge district. It's impossible for me to see everything. So this have building principals are involved in this. My maintenance folks are involved in this. So is the custodians. So is everybody up here. So this is a list that can grow. And again, as far as priorities go, I will share one last thing with you is this list, what you see here. When I see it and scroll, it's like this long. Because I have different ways to prioritize stuff that was put together by building principals and by our predecessors, or I shouldn't say our predecessors, but there's a whole bunch of categories. I can fine tune stuff, ask questions, and so on and so forth. I didn't want to bother you with that because it's an actually massive document. So I go forward with this. I have a lot of conversations with my boss, Julie Holmen, with Dr. Mueller, of course. And if you were to ask me what keeps me up at night, it would be that one on the top of the list. I'll just share that one with you. Big picture on that is we have about 200,000 square foot at the high school that we need to take care of on their roof. The part from 1994 when it was originally built in the 1998 portion. So gave you more information than you probably wanted. I apologize, but I do get excited about this kind of stuff.
Okay, any questions?
I have one. Was the previous iteration, the 300 line version you mentioned, was that like a guiding document then when the referendum came to be?
Yes.
Okay. So that's kind of the backbone
Go
then
ahead,
of
'cause
how
I wasn't
projects are
here for that. I'm
prioritized.
sorry.
Right, so we reconciled that with all of the scope of work that went through Finance and Buildings and Grounds committees at that time based on the audit that Nexus did for the whole district. And then it's just been a project kind of waiting to see how much we could actually cover with those referendum dollars before Chad worked to remove previously identified work, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it was definitely, you know, we had it, did John Naily have it written down? Yep, Nexus has it written down, yep. You know, prioritizing that. But there's still, if you were here when all that audit was done, they identified things in different, like years categories, so 0 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years out further. And really the referendum targeted, you know, the 3 schools plus the playgrounds at the other 2 elementary schools, and really targeted 0 to 5. So it's no surprise that if we're looking at, and that was a couple of years ago already, so now if we're looking out into the future, there's a lot of things in that scope of work in the Nexus audit that is now added to Chad's list here. So we got to take things off, but we also became more aware of some things that are coming up in the next decade that needs to go on. And
made
keep
the
our
list
eye
shorter
on it.
and longer.
Yep.
So, and I think one thing to mention is when we do our prioritization, we prioritize, the students and the learning in the classroom, but yet we know we want to improve on our facilities. So the referendum, we're so thankful for the community's support with that, because what that allowed us is this list, when it had the 300 plus lines, it dated back to needs years before mentioned on here, where now you see it's only a year back on some of them. So we were able to really tackle a lot of items that we wish we could have fixed years ago, but just didn't quite have the budget, especially for those items that were $1 million plus in size. So,
Great. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 8.9. Dr. Mueller will present to the board for approval on tonight's consent agenda, the 2024 Holmen High School candidates for graduation and the 2025 graduation date.
Yeah, so it's May. It's here. We have before you tonight, I bring you 301 students that are candidates to graduate from Holmen High School on May 25th of 2024. And this is dependent upon their successful completion of academic requirements. So they're finishing up really their last full week of academics here. And next Saturday, graduation will take place at the Lacrosse Center at 11 a.m. It's earlier than past years, and we look forward to bringing these 301 candidates forward to you as a board. So, and that would be on our consent agenda this evening so that it can be approved because we don't have another board meeting before graduation. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background materials on each item or has discussed it at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. Would any board member like to pull an item out of the consent agenda to be discussed and or voted on separately? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided.
So moved.
Motion by Chris,
Second.
a second by Barb. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
I'd just like to take this evening to recognize two staff members that will be retiring this year. I just like to thank Tom Johnson, has driven bus for 14 years, and that as much, I wish them well, but as much as we hope anytime they are available, they come back, they're more than welcome to come back and help us out driving bus. And then Laura Gilbertson, she is a cook at Evergreen for 24 years of service, and just thank her for all of her service and time. And I can't imagine the hundreds, thousands of children she's fed in her career. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the board debrief. I will call upon board members and ask you to present any comments or committee reports you have. And tonight we'll start with Khadijah.
Yeah, happy May. Hopefully folks who have mothers in their lives were able to celebrate this past weekend, so happy belated Mother's Day. I don't really think that I have a lot. Super excited for all of the graduates. It sounds like they have a couple of different things coming up, like their awards banquet, and super excited to be a part of the graduation ceremony. Mostly I'm just incredibly impressed by the number of sporting events we have from now until the end of the year and all the different things. Even though we're winding down our year, it doesn't feel like that at all. So good luck to all of our students who are participating in all sorts of competition coming up. Otherwise, that's all I've got.
All right, thank you. Chris.
Not much for me. I just wanted to thank everybody that came out tonight. Tonight was really a nuts and bolts kind of school board meeting where we discussed everything from graduate candidates to long-range plans, DEI, to summer school and everything in between. So, just thanks everybody for the hard work they put in as we wrap up the school year.
Okay, Lindsay.
Nothing much for me either, just second or third the congrats to all the grads coming up here.
Okay, Maggie.
Keeping with the theme, congrats to the grads, and also just feel like this is the last hurrah, like a very busy month for everyone. So thanks for everything that you're doing to make it to the end of the school year.
Okay, Bridget.
I would just echo what Chris said. It's been an amazing meeting tonight with a lot of great information and opportunities presented. And, just kudos to all of our building leaders who continue to offer, field trips and all of those extra things that make education such a beautiful opportunity for our students here in this district. So thanks to everyone.
All right, thank you. And Barb.
Again, congratulations to our graduates. Looking forward to shaking your hand in a few weeks. Also, I would like to congratulate our Project Search graduates who will be graduating on the 23rd. I'm not going to be able to be there, but if you don't know much about Project Search, just go on their Facebook page. It is really neat to see all of the opportunities our students have received at Gunderson and other area businesses. They're going to be entering the workforce, and I just think that that's, you know, such a neat thing that we're able to provide to our students.
All right, thank you. Kevin?
I just want to say congrats to the graduates. I know a good handful of them, and it's sad to see them go, but I'm happy for them. And I want to talk about solo ensemble, since it was after our last one, but before this. From my choir teacher, he said we had tons of one ranking. If you don't know, it's a golf score, so one's better. And we had a lot. He said this is like the most he's ever seen, which is really impressive. And then there's an upcoming choir concert this weekend on the 18th. And that's it.
Oh yeah, there's a band concert at 2:00 on Sunday at the Fine Arts Center for anyone who wants to come join. Sorry.
All right, thanks. I guess just since our last board meeting, which it's been a while, I did get the opportunity to see Little Mermaid at the middle school, and it was the last performance there, and that was really good to see. And I also am looking forward to attending graduation, as well as many of the other events on the list that I'll be reading here shortly. Let's see, the board has been provided with notes from the March 18th Policy Committee meeting, so please take a look at those. Also, the board has been provided with 14 policies that the Policy Committee recommends for consideration. If a board member has any questions regarding a policy, they should reach out to Dr. Mueller prior to May 28th meeting, where the policies will appear on the consent agenda for approval. And then moving down to our board meeting schedule. So on May 22nd, is Senior Recognition Night at 6:30 p.m. at the Fine Arts Center. May 23rd is the Sand Lake 25th Anniversary Celebration at 2:30. Also, there is the Project Search graduation that evening at 4 p.m. at the Rasmus Center at Gunderson Lutheran. Then on May 25th is the high school graduation at 11 a.m. at the La Crosse Center. And then on May 28th, which is a Tuesday, there is the retiree reception at 6 p.m. just prior to the board meeting at 7 p.m. So please come an hour early that evening to recognize the retirees. And then our last day of school is on June 6th. So is there any other business that needs to come before the board at this time? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Maggie has moved.
I'll second.
Chris has second to adjourn the meeting at 7:57 p.m. Motion carried. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes.